Jambo Kenya. Now, if you thought your day was chaotic, spare a thought for the people running this country. Somewhere in a county office, a government official is trying to explain why a billion-shilling project is still on paper, while a monkey swinging on a tree in Rongai is probably more productive. Also today, we dive into the circus that is our national life, where policy meets potholes and drama is guaranteed. My name is Willis Raburu, and this is Hold My Mic, Drop the Beat!
Hold my mic, hold my mic, hold my mic, yeah, yo, hold my mic, hey, hold my mic, hold my mic, hey, hold my mic, hold my mic.
Today we begin not with a story that will make you angry, but a story that will restore a bit of faith in humanity. Because not every headline on this show involves corruption and chaos and Singapore. Now meet Truphena Muthoni. This girl at just 22 years old is now the most famous climate activist in the country and maybe even the world. And this is because last week she did something most of us wouldn't survive without: Wi-Fi, snacks, and emotional support. She hugged a tree for 72 straight hours. That's right, this happened in Nyeri, outside Governor Mutahi Kahiga's office. And let me be very clear about the rules, because this wasn't vibes, this was discipline. No food, no water, no bathroom breaks, no nimenda hivi kidogo nakam, just her and the tree for 3 full days. Most of us can sit through a 30-minute church sermon without checking our phones or dozing. Yet this young girl bonded with the tree longer than some Kenyan marriages last. And this wasn't her first attempt. Earlier this year, she did it for 48 hours at the Mishuki Memorial Park in Nairobi. And still, she came back to break her own record.
Tree hugging is scientifically proven to be therapeutic. So when we have environmental degradation like floods and droughts, the victims have post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm trying to tell people that we should come back to nature, because we can only coexist with nature, and nature has healing.
Now, she says she did this to encourage Kenyans to fall in love with nature, because conservation, according to her, begins with love. Truphina's commitment to hugging that tree was so serious, I half expected the tree to introduce her to its parents. Now, I can just imagine how the conversation with her friends went the following week. So, what did you do over the weekend? Nothing much. I just hugged a tree for 3 days. Meanwhile, some of us can't even commit to a gym membership for 3 weeks. But here's where the story takes a very interesting Kenya turn. Because after those 72 hours, after the cameras, after the applause, after the tree was finally released from the very long and warm hug, the government suddenly discovered Truphena. Suddenly, there were medals, a head of state commendation, an ambassadorial title, a Brazil trip, red carpets rolled out faster than policy documents as well. Turns out, if you hug a tree long enough in this country, you don't just save the environment, you get more state recognition than whistleblowers, doctors, and even teachers. Now, don't get me wrong, and I say this wonderfully and celebrate it, because Truphena deserves the flowers and hugs. It's no mean feat. But this incident raises a small question. Why is it that in Kenya, you can shout about an issue for years and get ignored, but the moment you do something viral, then suddenly the system works? Let this be a lesson, young Kenyans. If you want government attention, don't write a memo, don't hold a press conference, pick a tree, hold on, refuse to let go, because in this country, accountability is optional, but a good photo opportunity, my goodness, guaranteed. Still, credit where it's due. Truphena reminded us of something simple, beautiful, and forgotten. That before you launch a multi-billion shilling climate change campaign, before you give speeches about planting 15 billion trees, you should probably just learn to love one first.
I'm trying to tell people to go back to nature for healing, and especially people, because we have mental health crisis across the world that is directly...
We do.
Yeah.
You have said something also very profound. We have a real serious problem of mental health.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about some national embarrassment on a global scale. The kind that finds you even when you're minding your business in Kenya. So this week, the United States of America, the land of freedom and opportunity and the home of the free, listed 15 Kenyans among what is called the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst. Criminal facing deportation is the worst. The worst of the worst. Oh my God. Now, when you hear that phrase, your mind immediately goes to international crime lords, terror masterminds, and maybe, just maybe, even P. Diddy, oil and all. Yet, some of the Kenyans on this list were accused or convicted of things like driving under the influence, fraud, receiving stolen property, forgery, and other non-Hollywood crimes. Serious crimes, yes, but the worst of the worst? Come on. Come on. Now again, I'm not defending these people, by the way. Their crimes are very serious, but it should be remembered that the US is the same country that produced Wall Street fraudsters who crashed the global economy. They produced mass school shooters. Hell, they even produced Harvey Weinstein and P. Diddy and R. Kelly and Bill Cosby. I mean, the list is endless. But all of a sudden, they looked at a Kenyan with a DUI and a forgery charge and said, this one, this is public enemy number one, is the worst of the worst at all. Now, that title alone sounds like a Netflix serial killer documentary or a Spotify playlist created by someone who listens to Embararamba. And back home in Kenya, the title landed badly because someone's mother forwarded it to the family group in WhatsApp with zero commentary, just the link, which is worse. Meanwhile, Trump's America is standing there, chest out, saying, we're cleaning up our streets, we're giving it a good clean. But cleaning up what exactly? Because calling petty offenders worst of the worst is like calling Sakaja's dimples potholes. Yes, it is a problem. But calm down. Hey. So now 15 Kenyans are being flown home, not quietly, not administratively, but with a global label slapped on their foreheads. The worst of the worst, which really is wild because back home, we know actual worst of the worst people. People who steal billions, change their names, are elected into parliament, people who drive with the full lights on, people who refuse to vote, but sure. Let's focus on the DUIs in Arizona. So yes, some laws are broken, and yes, consequences must follow, but maybe, just maybe, we don't need to exaggerate so hard that we end up embarrassing the entire nation just minding their business in the process. I'm just saying. Really, you need to get off Africa's butt. Get off. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into some county madness. Now, grab some popcorn. This gets interesting. Have you ever had one of those days where you go to bed with money and wake up with nothing? Even though you clearly couldn't have spent anything while asleep, welcome to the county governments in Kenya. Now, according to the latest Controller of Budget report, 20 out of 47 counties spent 0 shillings on development projects in the entire first quarter of the financial year. Not a road paved, not a water tap installed, not a school classroom, nothing, zero, nada, zilch, zero on development. 20 counties managed to spend nothing while still collecting billions in funding. Meanwhile, other counties, the one who showed some backbone, spent a total of just 3.7 billion on development out of a combined annual budget of more than 200 billion. That's 2% absorption. Now, let's break that down for the mathphobic at the back. Counties spent over 51 billion on salaries and operations. 0 on developing anything. Priorities. In Kisumu, despite receiving billions, they paid staff and allowances to the tune of 1.25 billion, but development, Professor Nyong'o, nothing. Nothing. In Kilifi, it's the same story. No development, but 1.2 billion on salaries and vehicles. In Uasin Gishu, millions on travel, wanataka kukimbia tu, at 1.12 billion on salaries, but no development, wanakimbia tu. And in Turkana, rich with funds, almost 1 billion shillings went to wages while roads and water systems stayed in dream mode. Now, some governors tried to explain it away, saying things like delayed e-procurement systems, technical difficulties, creative accounting, just stuff that sounds like excuses your fundi would give you when the job is unfinished, but you paid for the kaunda suit 3 weeks ago. Now, before the county teams come for me. Let's understand this context. Now, the law requires counties to spend at least 30% of their budgets on development, not 2%. That's to build infrastructure, water systems, clinics, all those things that help a government to exist, But at the current pace, Kenya's counties are targeting zero development participation with about 100% of salary folks. So kuna watu but wafanye kazi. And paying people salaries is important, that's okay. Teachers and nurses deserve to be compensated. But when the only thing you develop is your payroll, then something is seriously off. Because guess what? While roads remain unpaved, water projects idle, and clinics wait for equipment, county staff still show up to work. Just no actual work gets done. And until someone holds these governments accountable, the only thing that will ever get developed is a committee to study why nothing was developed. Now, let's talk about something very Kenyan, a political fight that has absolutely nothing to do with policy and everything to do with ego. President William Ruto and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka are currently locked in a serious national debate. Not about the economy, no, not about taxes, not about corruption, no. They're arguing about who built a road, and not just any road, a road to someone's home.
Wewe sasa kama unangojea mtu akuje akupangie barabara ya kwenda kwako, kwa sababu barabara ya kwenda kwako bado ni vumbi na bado ni ya matope, unamngojea akuja akupangie. Yeye mwenyewe huyo ambaye unamngojea, yeye mwenyewe amekuwa kwa uongozi miaka 50. Barabara ya kwenda kwake ni ya vumbi na matope. Atatoa wapi akili? Kama amekosa akili ya kupanga barabara ya kwenda kwake, atatoa wapi akili ya kupanga barabara ya kwenda kwako?
Now, Kalonzo was clearly offended. His feelings were a little bit hurt, so he fired back immediately.
Rais William Ruto alikuwa Kiambu. Badala ya kwenda kuabudu, alifanya mimi ni subject. Aninashambulia mimi. Anasema mahali netokako hakuna barabara. Nimekuwa kwa uongozi miaka 50 hata hajui kufanya hesabu. Not 50 years. That means 40 years of serious experience.
First of all, he says, I have not been in government for 50 years. Relax. I've only been there for 40. Only. But surely, man, Steve-O, that's not a correction. That's a confession. That's like being accused of stealing 1 billion shillings and responding, no. It was only 800 million shillings. Sijafika billion, jameni. Then, Kalonzo goes on to add very proudly,
Nikiwa vice president, I launched the construction. Simo Hydro. Ataka Ruto akanushe kwamba Sino Hydro. It's a Chinese contractor whom I launched to construct the road from Kibwezi to Mutomo to Kitui to Mwingi to Sekuru to Maua, na hiyo barabara ina link Ethiopia with Mombasa.
Aha! All right, Steve-O, all right. But there's still a plot twist because not so fast, Ruto says.
Juzi niliuliza jamaa mwingine, sasa wewe umekuwa uongozi 50 years. Wewe barabara ya kwenda kwako ni ya vumbi. Umekuwa uongozi 50 years. Kama una akili ya kupanga barabara ya kwenda kwako, utakujaje kupanga uwe na akili ya kupanga barabara za kwenda kwa Wakenya hii ingine? Si ndio? Ati amejitetea. Mnajua vile amejitetea? Amesema hapana, sio 50 years, ni 40. Sasa mimi nataka nimuulize huyo jamaa. Okay, wacha niseme nilikosea kusema 50. Pengine ni 40. Hiyo umesema. Si ndio? Sasa nikuulize tena. In 40 years haujajenga barabara ya kwenda kwako. Unahitaji miaka ngapi? Kwa sababu 40 inaonekana ni kidogo. Unahitaji miaka 100 ngapi ndio uweze kujenga barabara ya kwenda kwako?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kenyan politics, where leaders don't argue about who built the country. They argue about who cut the ribbon. Because apparently, in Kenya, if you did not launch it, you did not stand there with scissors and a flag and 3 MCs screaming your name, then you did not build it. You could have supervised it. You could have funded it. You could have even fought for it in cabinet, but if you weren't there smiling awkwardly for photos, guess what? You did nothing. Also, can we talk about the maths? Now, if Kalonzo has been in government for 40 years, that means he has survived Moi, he has survived Kibaki, he has survived Uhuru, and just almost survived Ruto. That's not leadership. That is political cockroach level resilience. Even a nuke can take this guy out. At this point, Kalonzo isn't even a politician. He's a heritage site. And the crazy thing is, somewhere in Kibwezi, villagers are still confused because now they don't know who to thank. Was it Kalonzo? Was it Uhuru? Was it Ruto? Or did the road just appear one day like potholes after the rain? They're the real winners of this fight, those Kibwezi people, because while leaders argue about who built a road in 2016, they're driving on it in 2025, dodging potholes that were clearly built by everyone. So yes, Kenyan politics has officially reached that stage where national leadership is measured not by policy, not by results, but by one simple question. Hiyo barabara ni yako ama ni yangu? Because in this country, my friends, history is written by whoever held the ribbon. Episode 6 done, but the chaos continues. Tomorrow, same time, same channel, same country. Keep hugging your dreams and maybe a tree for good luck. Remember, a better Kenya is your right, so keep calling nonsense out. Asante sana for watching. Stay woke, stay strong, stay believing. My name is Willis Raburu. Hold my mic. Out.
Ati alijaribu kujitetea tena akasema ati kuna barabara ingine alienda kuanzisha sijui Kibwezi kwenda sijui Kitui kwenda wapi. Si mnasikia? Wacha mimi nimwambie huyo jamaa, wacha nimpashe. Hiyo barabara ya kutoka Kibwezi, and you people, you have facts, you can Google. Kwa sababu wajinga wameisha Kenya bwana. And the internet never forgets. Mimi nataka mgoogle. Tarehe 6 December 2016, mimi na Uhuru Kenyatta tulikuwa Kibwezi. Tukilaunch barabara ya Kibwezi, Kitui, kwenda Mbondoni. Hiyo barabara huyo jamaa anasema alilaunch.
Hold my mic, yeah, hold my mic. Hold my mic, hold my mic. Hold my mic, hold my mic. Hold my mic.